Hello. Today is Tuesday, and today's the new day for Commissioner in the Car. I'm Dustin Zarni, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County, and it is August 2nd. And as I promised in July, I'd be changing my schedule around, and I am now releasing Commissioner in the Car on Tuesdays. Sometime between 4:30 and 5 on Facebook Live, because that's where I do these things. I'm calling. Today's episode will be about the absentee ballot deadline for the August primary. And also a little bit more about party changes. The absentee ballot deadline is August 8th, which is next Monday. So if you want to apply for an absentee ballot for the August primary, then you have to apply by August 8th to be guaranteed that we are going to mail out a absentee ballot to you, and that you can get it in time to be able to mail it back to us at the Board of Elections. After August 8th, if you want to apply for an absentee ballot, you have to do so in person, or have somebody drop off an application for you and pick up your ballot. Those options will be available after Monday. So if you think you're going to be out of town, or you want to vote from home because of the pandemic, you can still do so in the August primary. A reminder, what's on the August primary on August 23rd is the congressional candidates. Both Republican and Democratic congressional candidates are running in Onondaga County, and for conservatives, we have about 2/3 of the county running in SD 48, where there's a conservative party primary. So those are the races that are happening in Onondaga County. We'll talk more about that next week when we start talking about early voting happening, which starts on August 13th and runs through the 21st. So that you're the 22nd. No, the 21st. The 21st. So we'll talk about that next week. Another thing I wanted to talk about today was the party changes for August, because I touched on this in the last couple of episodes, shared a couple articles about it. There's a lot of misnomer about this particular thing, and I wanted to get that out there. A lot of people have talked about the August primary being an open primary, and it is not. It is not an open primary, but you can enroll in a party up till election day and vote in that party's primary. And here's the difference. But first, let's talk about the loophole that allowed this change to begin with. So back in 2020, New York had a much beleaguered sequester rule, which said that if you wanted to change your party, you had to do so by October 3rd, or 30 days before, or 25 days before the previous general election, to be able to vote in the primary, which meant in many cases you had to change your party 10 months before the actual primary to be able to vote in it. And when in 2020, after much criticism of this late party change, New York changed its party deadline to February 14th. And, Valentine's Day, as I call it, fall in love with your party day. I actually am very much a big proponent of that. I'm happy to have that Assemblyman Jacobson, who sponsored and passed that bill in the Assembly, got me a copy of the signed, what's called a pen cert of that bill, because I was a big proponent of that. And, it's on my wall at my office. It's something I'm very proud of, because, this long wait to be able to vote, to be able to change your party for the primary needed to end. Now, with the primary being moved from September to June, and the February deadline, that meant, it was only 4 months before the primary that you had to change your party. But the way the law was written, because the law was written with an idea that a June primary was happening, the law said that between February 14th and 7 days after the June primary, that any party changes would be held in what's called the virtual lockbox. It used to be an actual, by the way, this lockbox idea came from the old, the reformer ideas in the 20s, where they actually had a lockbox of voter registrations, and they would break that lockbox on election day to see who's eligible to vote. So this lockbox was a virtual lockbox, and so the party changes wouldn't roll until 7 days after the June primary. Nobody ever thought of the idea of having an August primary. That's because it didn't exist. It didn't exist until this year, when Judge McAllister of Steuben County ruled that the Senate and congressional lines were invalid, and we needed to have an August primary to give enough time to redraw the maps. This was back in May of this year. When that ruling came down, the judge never gave any idea or any direction for what to do about party changes. Many of us, commissioners and the State Board of Elections, pointed out to the legislature when they went back to session that this would mean that unless something is changed for this year, this would mean that party changes are effective starting the 7th day after the June primary, which means that party changes would be effective for the August primary on a daily basis up into that day. That means people can choose to enroll in a party and vote in that party's primary, which kind of, goes against the spirit of that February 14th reform in 2020. Now, this is probably a one-year thing. Nobody expects us to have an August primary in the future, but there was much concern about this ruling. It took a long time for the New York State Board of Elections to give us guidance on it. The guidance was always very clear that we should be processing it after the June primary, but we didn't know whether people who voted by affidavit would be allowed to change their party and have that ballot counted. The guidance that we got back now from the state is very clear, and I agree with it. It is what the law says, is that starting the 7th day after the June primary, that the party changes are now live, which means that, yes, even an affidavit ballot would be a party change, and they'd be able to vote in the primary, just like their address change allows them to vote in the primary. You can vote in this primary if you're not enrolled in the party by enrolling in the party before Election Day or on Election Day with the affidavit ballots. But that's different than an open primary. Open primaries are in many states where you can go into the polling place and say, I'm registered to vote. I may be a Republican, but I want to vote in the Democratic primary, but I'm retaining my Republican registration for next year or whatever. So since that concept is not what's happening in New York, because you actually have to enroll in the party. And while you could de-enroll from the party after the election, the very fact that you have to enroll in the party makes it different than an open primary. And it's not a distinction without a difference, because usually when people enroll in a party, they stay in that party for many, many months, many years. We've never seen really any ample evidence of people switching parties from year to year to be able to vote in that year's primary. What this more than likely will mean is people who are going to the polls of this August election, who normally don't vote in primaries and thus didn't know that they're not registered in the party of their choice, because when they registered when they were 18 or so, they decided they weren't part of a party, but now they are either Republican or they are either Democrat in their heart, if not on paper, will be allowed to have their registrations counted. That is my theory on this. And we're going to find out just how many people switch parties for a low turnout August primary this August election. So that's what's going on with the party changes. There's a few other things going on in the news today. Today is Tuesday. It's actually an election day for many other states. There's a lot of primaries going around the nation, but the vote I'm looking at is that abortion vote in Kansas. Will will they, will the voters of Kansas, overturn or support this constitutional ban on abortion that they're doing? But, David has a question. I'm going to go back to this. David asked in the chat, can they fix this with a bill next year? There is no need to fix it with a bill next year on the party changes because there won't be an August primary. This is only a problem with redistricting. It's never been done before. Probably will never be done again, or maybe 10 years from now it may be done. There's no need to fix it because there will only be June primaries going forward. That's what's in the law. The only reason we had an August primary was because of redistricting, which only happens every 10 years. So I'm looking at the Kansas abortion vote. I'm looking, and there was a big vote in Onondaga County today. The aquarium was passed by 9-8. 1 Democrat and 8 Republicans voted to spend $85 million on an aquarium. That now goes to the county executive for his signature, but this was his project. This was his push. He was the one who was making the deals to get this done. Him and the 8 GOP legislators and the 1 Democrat are the ones who own this process because it passed by 1 vote. So everybody who voted for it was the deciding vote on this project. Another thing that's happening later today, Onondaga County Democratic Committee is meeting. They are nominating for the position of county judge and Common Council District 5. This is made possible by the resignations of Joe Driscoll in District 5 in the city of Syracuse and Steve Doherty for county judge. So you can check that out. That's going to happen later today at 6:30, and I'm sure they'll announce a winner. Anna Marie Porter is the only judge's candidate, so I'm sure she'll get the nomination for that. There are 2 candidates for District 5, Jimmy Monto and Alfonso Davis. Now, again, remember my blog post about this. Just because the person gets the county Democratic Committee nomination does not mean they will fill the seat for the rest of the year. The Common Council chooses that later this year. However, because there is only 1 place of ballot access, they'll have a choice of 2 different party nominees, and whoever put in their applications, and I don't know about that, but I believe they're voting on that on August 22nd. So that's going on today as well. So those are the things that are going on, and hopefully by the end of today, we will at least have our candidates set for the general election, except for those that are in the Senate primaries, no Senate primaries, but the congressional primaries and the conservative Senate primary in August. And one more ballot item that will be happening in the next few days is the Supreme Court will have their Supreme Court nominations we have 4 different seats for Supreme Court, and there will be a judicial convention that I'll be talking about in next week's Commissioner in a Car, and we'll talk about who the Democrats nominated in the 5th Supreme Court District to run for judge. I know Judge David Murad is running for re-election there. I'm not sure of the other candidates. We'll find out after their convention. That's the last piece of the puzzle, besides that August 23rd primary, to finally get a set candidate list for November. So that's what's going on. That's the stuff that's going on in the news and election news. As always, check out DustinZarni.com. I have changed my release schedule. On Tuesdays, I'll be doing Commissioner in the Car. On Thursdays, I'll be doing Zoom with Zarni. And then on the weekend, I'll be doing what I'm now calling the Weekly Wonk. That is my weekly blog on statistics and elections and election law in Onondaga County in New York. I'm combining my Sunday thoughts and my Wonky Wednesday articles that I used to have. All of that's going to be combined together into one blog post every week. Hopefully I'll stick to that schedule. So that's all I got for you today. Enjoy the rest of the day. Good luck to the candidates for the OCDC meeting later today. And good luck to all of you out there. Bye-bye.